everybody. Welcome to Crick Shacker's social show in the air with me, Nivedna Prabhu. It is time for the second ODI. Now we will have to wait and watch if England's going to come back in this one or India is going to be continuing that momentum. They're going to be playing at Lord's, London. It is going to be at 5:30 p.m. IST. So it means that the action is just around the corner. Now, in terms of talking about this match, there's so much to be discussing. Lekin, before we dive into all of that, very happy to be having two guests on the show today. Gauri joining me once again back in the studios after a very long time, and of course, Pratyay Tiwari joining me once again. I'll start off with you, Gauri, a very clearly happy Indian fan after the first performance, in the first ODI. Lekin, moving on to the second ODI, as well as the series in terms of the fact that England haven't lost a home bilateral ODI series since 2014. So let's talk a little bit about that. What's your takeaway going into the second ODI, and what would England's strategy be today, according to you?
I think that doesn't matter quite a bit, that if England haven't lost since 2014 in the home conditions, because the team that we're seeing right now, the T20 side that we're seeing right now has a great capacity, in terms of what they have been performing with the bat, what they have been doing with the ball. So I don't think so you can, just rely on the stats that they haven't lost something from 2014. Also, a lot of critiques and experts saying about that this squad, that's the T20 present squad that's playing, India is playing currently, has the capacity to go and win the T20 World Cup as well. So I think we should, not definitely rely upon the stats and all those things, but it's currently about what the squad is currently capable of and what they're offering on the day. So I think, India still, I feel going into the second ODI, India still has an upper hand, and they'll obviously look to clinch the series and not take into the third and the final one.
All right, that is Gauri's, first point of view about this particular, clash between England and India. बहुत सारी चीजें और हम पूछेंगे गौरी को और प्रत्यय को. But before we dive into all of that, Pratyay, coming to you, we'll also take a quick look at the head-to-head and when I get your opinion about this particular series, with the fact that, of course, we have spoken, like even how Gauri said, you could have great, fantastic stats, but it really boils down to what's going to be happening on that day. Now, let me ask you one thing. What are the key lessons that both the teams will be getting from the first, ODI? India, of course, looked fantastic. Bumrah was breathing fire with the ball. But in terms of England, क्योंकि जब हमने पहले ODI के बारे में बात किया, we spoke about Bear Stokes and, of course, Ben Stokes. We thought that they would have this really fiery combination, but काफी सारे बतख, देखने को मिला. Outside the pond. So what do you want to tell me about that? What do you think their strategy will be today, despite the fact that they have fire house kind of a combination in terms of their team?
See, whenever this kind of a game comes up, you want to forget it as quickly as possible, because there's no point remembering it, because there's no takeaway, there's nothing positive that went your way. And I think Indians, they would be very satisfied, because if you are winning the game by 10 wickets over really 180 balls to spare, that means that you have entirely decimated the opposition, which is what exactly they went on to do. 9 wickets between your pacers, winning it with clinical fashion. So I think India would be a happy bunch, of course. From the perspective of testing things, they would want to test, because you did not see anyone batting apart from Rohit Sharma and Shikhar Dhawan, because it was that clinical a show from the visitors. But if you're talking about England, you would probably not want to remember that game as much. You would want to have your lessons, of course, so that you do not end up repeating those mistakes, because constantly the discussion about England's approach in every format that they are now playing, tests included, the baseball approach, is that they do not want to go onto the back foot. It's always on the front foot. And at times it becomes important that you have to play a little bit of conventional cricket. You have to understand the situation, because when you are 20 odd for 5, then it becomes important for you to understand the situations and understand that you have to have a partnership. Because if you're going out for 110, you have already lost the match pretty early in the game. So I think you have to challenge the opposition, and that is where they would want to, because I would not say that there was a touch of negligence in their approach, because that approach has been the same approach which has given them a lot of success in the last 5-7 years. But I think that you have to also understand that at certain occasions, it's important for you to play the situation, which England clearly failed to do in the previous game. So I think that is one mistake they would not want to repeat. And India's, of course, they would want, your 1-0 lead, it's a 3-match series. If you win this one, you clinch the series. So they would, of course, be wanting to win this one and then, try a few things in the next game, because that kind of becomes a dead rubber. There are no ODI Super World Cup points as well. India already are the hosts, so they are qualified. So they are not even worrying on that front. I think they would want to win the series on the earliest point.
ठीक है, तो आप सबका क्या कहना है in terms of this is the quick viewpoint that both Gauri and Pratyay have given us in terms of probably their strategy, what they'll be, looking to kind of first forget the first ODI, especially for England. And of course, दूसरी तरफ, India did look great, but the update coming in about, Virat Kohli as well, we did miss him in action in the first ODI, but I'll come to Gauri on that. Seems like we're going to be seeing him in action in the second ODI. कमेंट्स में तो किंग कोहली के लिए हार्ट प्रेडिक्शन सेंचुरी के लिए तो होता रहेगा, बोल सकते हैं, गौरी हम ये तो जानते हैं, लेकिन in terms of coming back in form, even Saurav Ganguly did make that statement that every sports person has gone through it, including himself, Dravid, Sachin Tendulkar at some point, the lean patch. But it's time to now really step up with the high profile campaign right around the corner.
I think that's quite true that every player goes through this, lean patch and something of that sort. But the only difficulty or the only problem that Kohli is facing is that he has set the standards so damn high. I mean, when the people start comparing with those standards, so if he is coming in 30, 40 odds, even that is not looking perfect to the audience. The fans are not liking his 20, 30 odd things. So he has set the standard so. I mean, so high. So whenever we are talking about Kohli, we are just looking at 71st century. Nothing else comes to the mind but the 71st century. So if you
Right.
are going in that perspective, I think that's quite a narrow-minded approach. If you look the things only in that perspective, like the 71st century. So if we stop looking maybe at that way, we can welcome Kohli with whatever he brings on the table. So if like talking in the second ODI, if he goes in the match, people are also debating whether he's rested or he's dropped. So I think it's not the time that we talk about these things, whether he's rested or dropped, but rather welcome him with whatever he's bringing on the table, right? I mean, first ODI definitely he missed because due to some injury. Even then, people were talking that it's not injury or something like that, but he has been dropped due to the form that he's been putting up. But I think that's it's not the time that we talk about these things. Rather, welcome with whatever he's doing. But if you talk about it, then definitely he needs to perform a little better because definitely we are also taking a look at whatever the bench strength the India is having. They're putting up everything on side and playing Kohli time and again. So, you cannot be risking players time and again which are in the good form. Then the debate also begins about that. You're resting people like Huda and so on with those form and then playing Kohli again and again. So I think for that to silence that and shut critics over there, he needs to definitely perform something with the bat.
Alright, so basically गौरी का ये कहना है कि चलो 10-15 ही मार ले, लेकिन डक पे आउट ना हो जाओ. If you look at
Definitely.
it that way, as on a lighter note, Virat Kohli fans, please do not come for me. Even I want him to score well with the bat. Now, in terms of this particular clash, player to watch out for, definitely Team India की तरफ से, we're pretty sure that Surya Kumar Yadav would be that one player. He's been in absolute sensational form. In 8 matches in ODIs, he has scored 267 runs and his highest being 64. Dusri taraf, if you could take a look at the player to watch out from England's side would be Johnny Bairstow. In 90 matches, he has an average of 47.36, his highest being 141 not out, and runs that he has amassed is 3,505. ठीक है, इन दोनों में से अगर हम player to watch out for, जल्दी से एक नाम ले लेते हैं without any diplomatic answers. I'll come to Pratyay first. Who are you going to pick, Surya Kumar or Bairstow? Irrespective of who you're supporting today, who's that one person to watch out for?
Surya Kumar, for the simple reason that he is coming after a brilliant game, 117. Yes, of course, it was in a losing cause, but he was all guns that day, and I think he did not get a chance to bat in the previous game. So I think that he is the man in form. Bairstow, of course, he has been in great form right throughout this year, back-to-back centuries against India. But I think that Surya Kumar would want to carry on that momentum. Also, it will be interesting to see now who is actually making way for Kohli. I guess it should be Shreyas Iyer because given the kind of form that Surya Kumar has shown, you would not want to bench him. So in these two, if you're asking me to pick one, irrespective of being an Indian supporter, I'm still going to choose Surya Kumar.
Surya Kumar Yadav. Okay, Sky is the word. And Gauri, is it Sky or Bairstow for you?
Sky, definitely. I mean, not just because of the form that he's coming in. Definitely, he's one player who's stitching his place very well in the squad. So I think that, and moreover that when Surya Kumar Yadav operates on the field, he's quite an exhibitionist. The kind of shots that he plays, the creativity that he shows up. That also attracts a lot of fans and a lot of people. So I think definitely Surya Kumar Yadav.
All right, sky's the limit, sky's the word. Clearly on Chris Tracker's, both my guests have only one word to say. But Bairstow, Johnny Bairstow के fans और इंग्लैंड टीम के फैंस, आप कहाँ हो, क्या होगा आपकी टीम के साथ, आज कौन सा प्रेडिक्शंस बनाना चाहते हैं, वो सब मुझे बताइए in the comments. Talking about this clash, player battle is yet another fascinating aspect of any clash when we see the best of the bowling aspect and the batters get together in that battle. So let's find out. यहाँ पे अगर कौन सा battle है, Root versus Bumrah, 36 runs that Root has managed to score. Bumrah has dismissed him on 2 occasions. If you could take a look at another player battle that we might have in store, Butler versus Shami, 52 runs that Butler's managed to score and 4 outs. All right. In terms of coming back to the pitch, there might not be much bounce as the Oval 2 days back at the Lord's pitch today, is what Graham Swan reckons. Pratyay, talking about that aspect, does this favor the batters, bowlers? If you could tell our viewers and us as well how this would pan out.
Well, if you're talking about Lords, it's one of those venues where the swing generally depends on how much of a cloud cover you have, and it's generally it's one of those tracks where batters find things easier. At the Oval, we saw there was cloud cover, the things were slightly overcast, and the ball was hooping around when Indians were bowling. We saw what Jasprit Bumrah did, because picking up a couple of wickets in the very first over, that to a double wicket maiden that he ended up bowling, and having the opposition 27 for 5, 26 for 5 inside the power play. That just goes on to tell you that how seam friendly the conditions were. So I'm not expecting that kind of a thing to happen. Also, as I said, that it was one of those games which you would probably want to brush off as an exception, because no matter which side, you do not see any side of England's caliber being tumbled out for 100, every other time. So it's clearly an exception. That is exactly what England would also want to prove. But I think that yes, this particular track, because also England is in the middle of a heat wave. From their standards, of course, Indians won't mind 30 degrees. They're definitely not going to call it a heat wave. But that is what it is in England. I mean, 24, 25 is what you get there in summers. But yes, that does actually play a role, because you can expect spinners to play a role a little bit. And of course, there will be still some help for the batters. So at least they should not be as worried as they were at the Oval.
All right, that is, weatherman come our cricket guest Pratyay giving us the update of what we can really expect, especially when it's England conditions. Like he said, 30 degrees हमारे लिए तो कुछ भी नहीं है इंडिया में, लेकिन वहाँ पे apparently heat wave माना जाता है. But that's of course on the lighter aspect of the game. But what are your predictions? All of you tell me, because I have the toss update that's come in that India have won the toss and opted to bowl first. We'll come to the playing 11 of both teams in a couple of minutes. But Gauri, I'll come to you, to the fact that Rohit has gone into with the option of bowling in first. Quite smart, want to capitalize on their previous form as well in the first ODI.
Definitely, I think had any team won the toss, they would have gone with the bowling first. So I think that looks quite the better option right now, because last time we also see how bowlers make the best of their options when in the power play options. So I think going on that, so we can see that the India Rohit did probably made the right call, I believe, and they would again want to capitalize on their starts or the power play things. And there is again something that Kohli comes back for again. That's what we were assuming also. So yeah, right. Virat Kohli is back for Shreyas Iyer. So just assuming on that form only that he does quite justice to his selection this time, because definitely we want to it's been long time that we haven't seen runs coming from his bat. So I think this would be probably the right time, so just score some runs and do the justice to his selection.
हम जहां भी शुरू करते हैं घूम फिर के हम वहीं पर आ जाते हैं कि कोहली का क्या होगा या क्या होने वाला है. That they already predicted that if somebody has to make way for Kohli, it would be Shreyas Iyer. So that's the update. We'll move on a little bit to what Rohit Sharma had to say after the toss, and then we'll get to different aspects of the game. Rohit Sharma said, we are going to bowl first. Let's draft for sure, but looks like there is some moisture in the pitch. He's also said, always nice to have a bowler like him. And he's talking about the fact that I thought it was quite challenging to keep wickets as an England ball test. I'm guessing he is talking about Bumrah here in terms of the bowler, and he's spoken about the fact that Virat Kohli comes back in for Shreyas Iyer, which we had Pandit Pratyay predict for us, or rather Professor Pratyay predict for us that this is what is going to happen. But he gets most of his predictions right. All of you give me your predictions in the comments. You see a lot of you saying that India is going to win. Some also say that in terms of England might have a comeback. Okay, so there is a balance, but I want to definitely know, what are your predictions in terms of the scores? Are we going to see more ducks, or are we going to see no ducks? What is your take? Tell me that in the comments. Let's move on to Social Tracker to find out what everybody's tweeting about this particular exciting clash in terms of the second ODI. Performance of India wicket-keeping options in England versus India T20I series. So this is Dinesh Karthik, 3 matches, and this is pretty much his stats. And then Rishabh Pant, of course. and Ishan Kishan as well. So no Sanju Samson and Umran Malik was the particular tweet, but we'll move on Wasim Jafar's tweet. South Africa are in England. Their ODI series starts on 19 July. England versus India ODI series finishes on 17 July. I think this could have been a really good tri-series. Would have been great for the fans as well. Tri-series and bilateral. Okay, that's an interesting point. We'll find out from our viewers as well what they think about that. Crick Tracker has tweeted a good gesture expressed by both England team and Rohit Sharma towards the little fangirl. Now, this girl, of course, was reportedly hurt after Rohit Sharma 6, but she's got a jersey gifted by him as well. And Rohit also spoke to the girl's father after the first ODI. And Chennai Super Kings has tweeted, "Let's keep up the recent trend." All right, with all the pictures of the ones who have done fantastic in the first ODI. We'll come to that little, thing that we had in terms of what he had tweeted, Wasim Jafar. Quite interesting. Who goes for bilateral, or would you not have bilateral? Would you like to see three countries playing? Let me quickly ask Pratik, what's your take on that?
Okay, I think bilateral cricket, as we are seeing, because now only yesterday South Africa having confirmed that they are pulling out of the series against Australia because there's a new T20 coming up, new T20 league that they are launching, stay safe, in next
Yeah.
year January. So yes, interesting times ahead of us. Kind of, you will perhaps see the cricketing landscape change because perhaps cricket is going the football way, where you are seeing the decline in international bilaterals and more of the T20 cricket and franchise-based league cricket. And I think that yes, it does make a bit of sense because of late, I mean, it's that kind of a world we live in. I mean, attention spans of people are getting shorter and shorter each day, and you perhaps enjoy more. I mean, if you actually ask to an average viewer, yes, Test cricket is actually the best format and it makes for a great viewing. But given how much time it takes, and from speaking from a financial perspective, Test cricket, ODI cricket are perhaps, if you speak strictly speaking from a financial perspective, they are loss-making machines because they do not generate as much revenues. They do not bring you as much broadcasters revenue from any aspect for that matter. So I think that yes, it is a sign. We are probably early in the early days of seeing that what the future holds for us. And perhaps going forward, you would rather see lesser bilateral cricket and more of T20Is, T20 cricket leagues, which we are already seeing, because now there is another which is coming into UAE. There is PSL, there is BBL, there is IPL, there is the 100. I know there's a plethora of T20, and there's a mushrooming of cricket that are based on franchises. So I think it's kind of a message, and I think bilaterals will gradually decrease. So maybe tri-series could be one of the ideas to kind of keep the interest of the viewers, because it gives you three teams. It kind of breaks the monotony. So yes, I think it could be one of the better ideas to going forward.
ठीक है, आप सबको क्या लगता है इसके बारे में? Like, because Pratik took all those names, right? Only the PL Premier League remains constant. वो बस alphabet, the first alphabet keeps changing. That we'll keep having different kind of Premier Leagues. But what is all of you? What do all of you think? Would you have in terms of a bilateral series? That's where you would like to see. Would you like to see a tri series happening? Tell me your take. Ronald Davis has said, hope to see a complete 50 over match this time. Well, I mean, there are two ways to look at it, right? If you, like I said, would you want to spot more ducks? If you don't have the opportunity to go out and enjoy nature, then maybe on the field you might, get another chance. But that's of course on a lighter note. I always have to say this because you never know if fans get offended. You don't want them to, right? But coming to this game, it's all about the playing 11 combination that both the teams go with. England have remained unchanged, but what is it looking like for India as well? Let's take a quick look. Here, of course, like we gave the update earlier, that Virat Kohli has, come in today instead of Shreyas Iyer. In terms of England, it remains the same. So quickly, I'll come to you, Gauri, looking at both the playing 11. Now, with having Virat in the scheme of things, and of course, England would want to kind of close all those loopholes which they kind of managed to show in the first one. Who will have the upper hand? What prediction are you making before we wrap up?
I think India definitely, having won the first match, will have the upper hand going into this game. Definitely, like we talked about it. But they are also going just with one change. That's Virat Kohli coming in for Shreyas Iyer. So I think that looks pretty fine. Also talking about England's, that was pretty much predicted that they'll have to go with the same combination, because it was not that they didn't the particular team that they're going with is not capable of performing, because what certainly they did in the last match was much less to their standards. So I think it's not about changing the current squad. It's about going with the same squad and just everyone performing to their own capabilities. So I think it's quite right that England are going with the same unchanged squad. And for India, it was quite predicted that if Virat Kohli comes in, definitely Shreyas Iyer has to make a place, because you won't be losing people who are already in red hot form.
All right. So everybody, I know that you're all waiting to see Virat Kohli perform, because I see here saying King Kohli is happy and then Virat Kohli 100 loading. I don't want to make any of those predictions. I'd rather sit and watch what's going to be happening. But I'll come to you, Pratyek, before we wrap up. The fact that we're talking so much about Kohli, it is being reported that he has been rested, but we know Twitter is pretty much divided with this, and I'm talking about the West Indies T20 series. Before we wrap up, a quick word on that. I don't think, whether it's been rested or not, that only if an official source will come out and say it, or if he will come out and say it like it is. But have we actually entered a time where we're not seeing him in the scheme of things? That's quite scary, and it's a little harsh to kind of digest, right?
Yeah, it is, of course. I mean, having seen him playing for India the way he has in the last 5, 7 years, it has been absolutely phenomenal. I mean, of course, the last 2, 3 years have not been up to his standards. A lot of reasons for that. Of course, there's these kind of slumps are something that every cricketer, no matter how great, how less great, have actually faced. And when we perhaps thought that Kohli would be one of those cricketers who would actually end up defying that, and would perhaps tell that he is one cricketer who never ran out of the purple patch that he has always been into. Even he came up and proved that even he is mortal. But I think yes, it is harsh, of course, to see that, because there is a school of thought now which kind of questions that does he deserve a spot in this 11 in this World Cup scheme of things, because there are so many players that you have. There's Surya Kumar Yadav, there's certainly a Deepak Hooda who was not into the scheme of things until as early as the start of this year. But a breakthrough IPL, then a great series that he had against Ireland, then a fluent knock that he played against England, and suddenly now he is also into the scheme of things. So I think that yes, the pressure is definitely on Virat Kohli, because I think that the only reason perhaps he has even been able to survive in this team for that long as he has is because of what he has done in the past. Because I do not think that India would have persisted with any player for that long if he would not have been in that kind of form for 2 2.5 years. But because it was Kohli, it's not easy. I mean, it's not easy for the management, it's not easy for the coaches, it's not easy for the selectors even, because you're talking about Virat Kohli. A lot of emotions involved. There's the entire country is rooting for him. So the pressure
Yeah.
is of course on him. But I personally do not see this as being dropped, because going by whatever I've heard and read, he asked for rest for this particular series from the BCCI, and he has also reportedly confirmed that he is going to be available for all the series that are going to be after the West Indies one. So I do not see this being as dropped, personally, also because he is in the scheme of things until at least the World Cup, the one in Australia. Not to forget that he is a champion of a player in the ODI format. India is hosting the next ODI World Cup in 2023. So at least until that long, I'm not seeing Kohli going anywhere. But yes, the pressure is definitely on, and he has to kind of form. He has to kind of stick to that form and the reputation that he has built sooner rather than later, because now it's really long that he has not been able to score those runs.
That's right. And of course, like, both Gauri and Pratyay have said it, umpteen number of times that at the end of the day, he has set the bar so high. So, when it comes to Kohli, it becomes a little more difficult to be digesting news like this. But if he has asked for a break and that's what has happened, then we can only hope is, true cricket fans, he gets whatever break or whatever kind of, back to the basics that he requires, so that we see him in form. Whether you're a Kohli fan or not, we just really want him to go out there and we can witness that old Virat. I don't think anybody can visualize what it's going to be looking like when he gets to that 100 eventually. Whether today is going to be the day or not, I do not know, but we'll wait and watch. But before we wrap up, we'll leave on this note that Ronald Davis has said, like always, form is temporary, class is permanent, and he has said, come back stronger, champ. All right, on that very good note, let us wrap up right now on Crick Tracker's special show In the Air. But don't forget to join us as we'll be discussing everything to do with the fact that what is going to be happening in the second ODI. So we'll see you right here only on Crick Tracker. Until then, I want to thank all of you for joining me. See you on the other side.